What's going on, guys? So today we're doing some simple repairs on my 97 supercharged Honda Civic. If you guys watched the last video, you might have noticed the car was up on jack stands, and there's a reason for that. And that's because at the last event I took this car to, the remanufactured alternator I had in the car died on the way there. It didn't die. The voltage regulator stopped working. So it was putting 18 volts straight to my battery, and it blew up my Optima yellow top. So today we're going to come over here to the workbench, and we're going to go through what you need to do to replace an alternator on your supercharged Civic. It's a straightforward process in a non-straightforward manner, because unlike your normal Honda Civic with the D-Series, you can't just reach down there and pull it out through the top. The blower's in the way. So you got to go under the car. So I'm going to show you the process involved, because you do have to take the belt off of the blower. You have to take the blower mounting plate off just for ease of access. So it'll be a good opportunity for me to show you how the tensioner assembly and all that works. And then I'm going to show you a trick that I've learned, because this is the 5th time I'm doing this. We decided not to go with the remanufactured unit this time. So obviously, your first step is to get the car up in the air and take the front tire off. You can do it without it, but it's nicer to have a little bit more room to work. But let's go back over to the workbench real quick and talk about the basics you're going to need for this job. You'll need your random assortment of hand tools. 3/4 inch ratchet will do most of the work. You can also opt to use a 1/4 inch ratchet for the nut on the thing, since it's on the alternator, because it's not, very tight and there is limited access. You're going to have to take that off while it's still in the car. Your typical Honda 10, 12, and 14 deep and shallow. I've also got a 10 for this nut here. And for the supercharger belt tensioner assembly itself, a 17 millimeter wrench, preferably ratcheting, or if you have access to one, this is a 17 millimeter, but you can see it's much longer because you have to reach up into the engine bay from the bottom to loosen the bracket. Also, in addition, if you have the access to them and you want to make your life a little bit easier, an impact or an electric ratchet will speed up the process. Real quick, let's just take a look at the alternators themselves. This is another OEM reman that I had die. This one wasn't putting up enough voltage. Just as a comparison, this is a brand new unit that I had made by JS Alternators down in North Carolina. This is a high output alternator. I had looked around, and after a while I decided this was going to be the route I was going to go, because remans haven't been working for me, and I checked with the Honda dealer, and they wanted for a brand new, like off-the-shelf brand new alternator, they wanted $900. Absolutely ridiculous. This was my middle ground. Do I need a high output alternator? No, probably not. I'm not running a huge stereo or anything, but having more than what you need isn't going to hurt anything. And the fact that this was rebuilt, all the parts were taken out and refreshed with new units, means I hopefully shouldn't have any more issues. Again, this is the 4th or 5th alternator I've had fail after the OEM one blew up at 280,000 miles. So it really goes to show you what quality parts mean. So I'm going to take a quick pause. We're going to get the car set up and ready, and then we're going to try and get under there, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Alright guys, so we're back at the car and we're ready to get started. And the absolute first step after you get the car up in the air for this is to disconnect the battery. So you will need a 10 millimeter wrench and or socket to do that. I forgot to grab that earlier, so I'm going to grab that now in the toolbox. And we're going to come over, and you're going to want to disconnect your positive terminal. So just come in, loosen terminal up, and disconnect your battery. The main reason you want to do this is because you are messing with something that's tied directly to the battery. You don't want to accidentally short out and send all that current straight through yourself. So after you've got your battery disconnected, what you want to do is come over, and we need to loosen the tensioner pulley. So this is the tensioner assembly here. This is the nut to put tension on, but it's also a clamp style pulley. Here's the pulley itself, and there's a 17mm nut on this side that you have to access through the bottom. What we're going to do first is we're going to come in and we're going to loosen up here. I'm going to back this up pretty much as far as you can so you have room to work with it. And then now we're going to have to try and go under the car. We're going to come back. I'm going to use my 17mm ratcheting wrench, and we're going to come down here. And I know you can't really see too well, but we're going to reach up all the way into here, try and get to that pulley. Alright, so once you get it loose, you should be able to push up on it, or you can even come up back to the top side. So let's go back on top real quick. Straighten you guys out. Alright, so now that we're loose, you should be able to, you wiggle it, it'll come loose, and you'll just want to take your belt here. A lot of this is, I'm trying to do this one-handed for you guys, so it's a little bit harder. So get your belt loose, just pop it off the supercharger here. You don't have to take it all the way off, you just need to be able to pop it off the alternator and get it out of your way. It is a tight fit in here, you know, so everything's a struggle. But the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take this mounting plate off, and there's surprisingly only 2 screws holding it on. So now we're going to need our, I believe it's a 12, and the ratchet. I will show you guys the screws better once I get it off, but there's one at the top of the alternator, and then there's another one right here in between this hose, and those are the only 2. I'm going to go ahead and pop those off real quick, and then I'm going to pull the bracket out and show you guys. Alright guys, so we're back. I got the plate out. This is the actual tensioner assembly, and these are the 3 bolts that hold it in. So you've got your 14mm bolt. This bolts into the head on the block here, and then you've got a 12mm bolt that bolts into the top slot of the alternator here, and your long bolt comes into here, and this is what puts tension down on the bracket, and this is a clamp style tensioner. So you'll put tension on it that way, and then if I turn this sideways, you can see it's threaded in. So once you get the desired tension, you clamp it down so the tension wheel can't have any play in it. There's nothing really special about this piece. You also have to be careful, because if you slide it with too much tension, it will eat into the thing. If you guys have this kit and you've bought it used, which at this point you definitely have, check your wheels, check your bearings, make sure they're not making any weird noises. You can still get these from Jackson Racing, and there's also some companies on eBay that, at this point, that are selling replacements. But check your bearings in here. You want them to be nice and smooth. This is going to be spinning constantly while your engine's running. And there is adjustment, so if you need to come in and add more or less slack length, if you have something different that might adjust your belt length, it's there. So now that we have that out, you can see a little bit better in here. Got our alternator. So now what we have to do is really go under the vehicle, and it's got to come out from the bottom, and it sucks. But the trick to doing this, you're going to need your floor jack, and you're going to loosen up this engine mount. You're going to push the engine up as far as you can get it safely, and then we're going to unhook it from the bottom, take the mounting bracket off, and try and wiggle it out. And that's the only way I've found to get it out. So I'm going to set you guys up on the ground. We're going to jack the engine up real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and get under there and take it out. Alright, so we're just going to loosen. I've got the jack under the engine loosely right now. It's got pressure on it. You don't want to go crazy, you don't want to bust your pan, but we're going to go ahead and crack open these 17mm nuts on the mount. And you see the engine sank down. So what you want to do now is you want to just slowly bring it up as far as you can without breaking anything. So that's about it right there. We're going to leave it alone, and we're going to go to the underside of the car. Alright, so we're under the car now, and you can clearly see the alternator. The only thing holding the alternator in right now at this point is this 14mm nut you have to take the square post out of here that's holding it on, and then we're going to have to take this bracket off. So I'm going to go ahead and get the tools. We're going to loosen this up, and then we're going to take the electric connectors out. And again, we're going to have to wiggle it out through this space, which is why you have to take the bracket off. So let me go grab the tools, and then we'll get started. Alright, so the alternator's loose now, so what we're going to do is we're going to wiggle it out of the post and push it up out of the way, because we're going to take this bracket off now. Both bolts in this bracket are 14 millimeter, and they really don't give you much room. You can't do this with the ratchet, or with the wrench. You actually have to do it with the ratchet. So I'm going to grab a 14 socket, and we're going to pull those off. So this is the actual bracket itself. You can see the two holes that mount into the block. We're just going to take that and set that out of the way. And now we can come around to the alternator. And there's a couple things you need to pull off here. I'll try and get it better in view for you guys. So you need to take off this green plastic clip from the engine harness. You'll just pull that out. And then you'll pull this rubber boot back. And you'll need to get your 10 millimeter socket and take this bolt off and take the loom off. So I'm going to grab that, we're going to do that, and then we're going to wiggle. Just wiggle your cable off the post here. Just get your nut off and pull your wiring harness out of the way. So now we've got to try and fish this out of the hole. And it's out. Alright, so now that we've wiggled that bastard out of there, I'm going to go ahead and put the new one in. Installation is just the reverse of removal, and I will catch up with you guys once it's back in to show you proper belt routing and tension.